Welcome to the Growth Catalyst Show, where we believe that growth could come in many forms: professional, personal, company, sales, you name it. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney, founder of Transcendent Sales Solutions and a guide to a world of growth possibilities. I've spent my career empowering companies and their people with strategies that accelerate growth. I'm here to bring you stories of these business leaders and their trusted advisors to gain insights into their journeys and learn how they fuel their own growth. Just maybe their journey could become part of your own growth story. Are you ready? Let's grow. Welcome to the next episode of the Growth Catalyst Show. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney. I am so happy to have my next guest. Diana Murphy is an accomplished executive and mindset coach based in Atlanta, Georgia, and the founder of Diana Murphy Coaching LLC. With a diverse background, including experience at Gallup and CNN, Diana now dedicates her expertise to fueling her clients' ability to innovate, transform, and disrupt while they create a massive impact. Diana is also the host of the Regret Proof Your Business podcast. Diana, welcome to the Growth Catalyst Show.
Great. And this gives me a gorgeous intro as I have rebranded my podcast, and now it's called The Leaders Table. And yeah. So I am transitioning from, I always will be the small business owner's coach. I am a middle management coach, but I also decided that this year is going to be around gathering around tables. So the Leaders Table is my new podcast. I really only have one episode on it. So this is perfect for me to just say, I cannot wait to be doing what you're doing more. It's something that I integrated last year, and all of my partner podcasts were much more fun for me. And so I will be doing some solo episodes and also partner episodes. So,
well, when we talk about podcasts,
come on my podcast.
I would love that. And I have to say, when I started thinking about doing a podcast a year ago, you were so helpful for me and giving me some guidance how to do it. So I wouldn't be doing this podcast here today if it wasn't for you. And I want to thank you for that.
You are welcome. And we have a gorgeous producer that helps edit and all. Jeremy Price, we love you. And I interviewed him on my podcast. So that's also a fun thing, talking about his journey becoming a solo. So this is a fun, small world, Dan.
It is. It is. And as I was doing my research last night for the podcast, I always learn something new about people that I know. And your website really tells a story. And I had to read it a couple times to actually kind of try to piece it all together. But your story is amazing, and I can't wait to get into it. So we share many things. A Chicago native, yes. Where did you grow up in Chicago?
Lake Zurich, Barrington. I went to high school at Lake Zurich High.
Okay. All right. So, and I think I might have known that, but maybe I forgot it.
Yeah.
I forget more now than I actually remember sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you.
So Chicago native, always looking for that good slice of pizza in Chicago. We share that passion as well, and actually in Atlanta. And we've had some hit and misses, haven't we?
Yes. I love the pizza hour. Yes. That has been a delight.
Now, one thing I didn't know is you ended up in marketing at University of Colorado. What brought you from, Lake Zurich, Illinois, and the boonies at that time, because it was the boonies, to Colorado?
So Colorado was my safety school, and my mom had gone there, was a cheerleader, did the whole thing. My parents even got married quickly after she graduated from there, so it was a sweet place for them. And so she was thrilled that I kept it as a safety school. I was gunning for, I'm from Chicago, but I ended up applying for a lot of the schools our kids do in the area, Vanderbilt, Duke. Duke was a dream, and I did not get in. I did get into Vandy, but it was a very small school at the time. And I just got really excited when I heard that Colorado brought me in. And I love science and math. And so I started in being a physical therapist, but on the side, I was typing papers for people to make money, and I was reading business papers, and I realized that, I could do this as a way of life. I'm going to study business. Marketing made sense for me. I'm not a numbers person, although I love the study of finance. And so what is your first job? This is how you and I connect. My first job out of school was a sales job. And that was actually more attractive to me than marketing department. So it just was my my leap, that I was able to leap off of that. And I worked for a pharmaceutical company that sold very high tech. I was in ICUs, and our drug was on a crash cart. And so I combined that gorgeous competency in science and math, and my first few sales jobs were in pharmaceuticals. So that's
And
my Colorado story.
And you started your first, if I remember, in New York City. You were in New York City,
I was
correct?
a drug rep. My dad used to affectionately, and this is in the 80s. And so my dad would affectionately tell his friends that I was selling drugs in New York. And I had a territory in Queens and Flushing, Rego Park, Forest Hills. Really cool. I grew up a lot. That was my first year of marriage, and I grew up quickly during that season.
In that borough of New York City, I'm sure you did.
It was a blast. I did really well. I was rookie rep of the year my first year. I had a great time. Yeah.
Yep. So fast forward, then you move cross country and you ended up in Nebraska.
Yes. So my ex-husband, the father of my children, he and I were both interviewed by the Gallup organization, and it wasn't even called that at the time, but we were interviewed, and both of us were recommended sales management from the profile. And he was recruited first, and I was recruited second. And we moved to Nebraska when I got my job there. He was traveling in satellite for them at the time. They wanted him to develop a New York office, and that didn't pan out as well as national banking. He was in charge of the banking division, market research. And we had our babies there. I had a great career there. I was actually working with Don Clifton as they were starting the Strengths Finder from the roots. Like my in-depth interviewing center, I was in charge of in-depth interviewing, and we were doing the 6-hour research interviews to develop the Strengths Finder. So I love the Strengths Finder. I love focusing on strengths. That was the seed of my personal development journey, and it really informed me later about being a coach.
So you took kind of a couple decade kind of break raising your boys.
I did. I proudly, Jock was in charge of worldwide sales. So he would even take trips around the world. As we were raising our babies, we were in Lincoln, and that's 2 flights for every trip. And he would be in LA and be the final. Oh, we're going to have our finalists for this research project at 3:00 on Friday in LA. So it really did not work. Like, I knew for me that being home with that trajectory that he was on, and the demands at Gallup, it was a very high intensity, high growth company. So part-time still was not working for me. And so when I had our second child, I did decide to stay home. That was just totally my decision. I embraced it and loved every minute of it. Of course, during those 20 years, I was in charge of everything. So I was the co-president of parent associations. I ran the Sally Foster campaign. I'm sure that many people looked at me as like, why are you not doing this for money? And it was like, all that built me up, all those experiences, everything that I did really brought me to the point of becoming a coach. It was a gorgeous journey as I look back on it.
And you started coaching, everybody's journey starts a little bit different. You started doing that with Weight Watchers.
Yes. So
really?
they call them coaches now. So I was investigating. I had a very successful, finally ending my diet drama and roller coaster weight loss and weight gain. And I was 200 pounds when I had my babies. So I have really struggled with I was on my first diet when I was 5. So I had a great interest in helping other women come to that peace with food. And so my internship was at Weight Watchers while I was going to school at Georgia State and getting a nutrition degree. But as I was going through those courses and seeing how much that investment was going to be, I really decided that to get closer and quicker to clients, that I would look into life coaching. And I found a life coach that was doing a great work at training weight loss coaches and life coaches.
Okay. Weight Watchers is a great organization.
It is.
doing it when my mom dragged me there. She probably could drag me there again, but she dragged me there in high school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember the old thing that was said, Lenny, remember, old eating habits mean old weight. And
Yeah.
I should think of that more, but I still think of that.
Yeah, I learned a lot and I knew more was going on for me during that journey of getting more of honoring mindful eating. And that's what I brought into my practice as a coach. And I just loved it. I learned to facilitate a large group. So that has helped me with group coaching. I would have one on one conversations. My favorite thing as a leader was to check people in and be at the scale and coach them with their reactions to their weight gain or weight loss and just really supporting people. I loved coaching both men and women. That informed me of the type of person I wanted to work with because I was in the CNN setting. I had the entire federal building downtown, and every agency is housed down there, and they all would come to my meetings. And I had a blast really working with people and some of the meetings were in historically Black communities, and Oprah had launched her it was Jennifer Hudson. Sorry. Jennifer Hudson launched our new program, and I was able to bring in member sizes of like 70 women in an evening. And it was from that, what I'm learning as a coach is it's from that creating safety that people can bring what's troubling them to the room. So I would create that safety in the room. And I was the only white woman in the room, but our commonality was that we were struggling with this part of our life. And so that was also informing to the type of work that I'm doing as a coach. So it was a great beginning.
As I looked at your website yesterday and I read your story and I read the about me like 3 or 4 times, and because
We just rewrote
good.
that, Dan. Thank you.
And you did, and you know what? It was compelling enough that I wanted to read it over and over again, that I didn't miss anything. But tell me if I'm incorrect, but it seems like in 2021 you made some significant life changes that really might have changed your approach to just even your coaching business.
It deepened my coaching business. So I did leave a 40-year marriage in 21. It was a face forward, wholehearted move on both my Jacques and my part. And we decided to do it differently. And we wrote our own divorce. So we had a mediation. A lawyer helped us facilitate that. And we decided to be face forward with all of our family events. But the work of leaving a marriage like that and the identity of being a married woman and then launching into being single was quite a journey. And that growth and that new negotiation with the way that my new relationship with deep emotions or tough emotions was, I thought I was authentic, but what has happened is now I am vulnerable. And it is not easy for a type A high achiever kind of identity person, which I am, to do that work. We have been taught by our culture, and especially high driving people have learned to shove their emotions down to move forward. And sometimes we need out of survival to do that. But what I learned is the beauty of honoring the grief, honoring the anger, honoring feeling rejected, honoring all the things that you normally go through something like that. And it can happen in all these other facets, selling your business, starting a new business. Like I had a personal experience of learning how there is so much joy and wisdom and true groundedness that comes from learning to negotiate that experience in a deeper way. So I bring that to my clients if that's the work that they want to do. It's just another tool now.
Yeah. And so it sounds like that journey that you went through really changed does it change the type of clients that you're working with? Let's take a moment for a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of the Growth Catalyst Show was brought to you by Transcendent Sales Solutions. Whether your company is facing uncertainty, declining sales, or resource limitations, Transcendent Sales has the solution. Their team has decades of experience helping businesses find alignment to meet their growth goals and transforming underperforming sales organizations into revenue-producing market leaders. They take a hands-on, results-oriented approach to solving sales challenges. Visit transcendentsales.com to learn more and subscribe to the bi-weekly Growth Catalyst newsletter for insightful growth strategies. Transcendent Sales Solutions, empowering businesses to reach new heights. And now back to the show.
A little bit. I am seeing that people that are going through really tough personal things, but are leaders and running, say, 5 businesses, or like are VPs of whatever, or running their own solo practice, is that now they feel very comfortable. Like there's just an energetic match there that people feel safe coming to me to mitigate and really honor that, both the wholeness of their life. So I really am more a life coach in these days than just helping people with business development. It was a lot of my work a couple of years ago, which I love doing. I love helping people move from the identity of corporate leader to solopreneur to, married person to single while they're a leader. Any of that holistic approach is the power of the work that I do. Since I've been a coach for 10 years, I integrate all the tools that I've been given as I've been coached and gone through schools.
So if I look at the life coach aspect, I think sometimes, and is it me or is there a stigma sometimes with life coach?
Yes.
When you think of life coach, we like this. Oh, what am I going to get with a life coach? What are they going to tell me?
I have
how to live life?
Life coach. What's a life coach? Like kumbaya, right? So we get a bad rap. And I think that the advice that like what is normal is like, okay, car salesman. Like it's the same thing. We have one experience with one human and then we make that overgeneralization. And for some people, I will say this, it's a protection. Like when people meet me and they hear about me navigating emotions and they're not ready to be on that journey, they're like, no. And so it's sometimes our self-protection. Even think about that with car salesmen. It's like, oh, I've heard they can be really bad. So it's us protecting ourselves from a bad experience or a vulnerable experience. So coaches in our space, most of them are teaching what they learned during their own journey. And that's valuable if you want to do things the way that coach has done them. And that to me is strategy type of coaching. And that can work really well. But I think where it has been, where people get a bad taste in their mouth, is that what they haven't realized is their wiring and the way that they want to do life and business. And that, they hire a coach that's teaching their way and they're very different. That actually has happened to me through masterminds. That then they feel like the coaching isn't working. And they're right, because they are honoring that there's a personal way they want to do their business, and they're basically being told to do it another way. So real coaching honors the person's whole, like all of their desires of how they want their lifestyle to be. This is just an example in business coaching, but the way they want their lifestyle to be, the amount of hours they want to work, the type of clients, the way they want to network. And that's the power of true coaching, is honoring the person in front of you, seeing their brilliance, and creating enough emotional safety that person can share everything that's going on that's like valid for the conversation and what they want. And that coach can see where their mindset and the ways they're thinking, the ways they're reacting, it can be from trauma, it can be from, previous circumstances. That coach can help guide them and show them their mind. That's something I love doing. I will show you what you're thinking and what result it's creating. And then you get to choose. I don't ask you to choose it. You as a client would get to choose the way you'd like to go. And I tie things together. I have a high strategy brain. And I then tie things together as I get to know my clients, that then I see the patterns forming, and all, like, we are one human. So if you solve it in your marriage, you're going to solve it with your team. If you solve it with your team, you can actually solve it in your marriage. So these relationship facets and the way that we show up in the world, that is the essence of what creates our next result.
The one thing as I look at all the different coaching, I think of sales. I'm a sales coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's business coaches. I have a fitness coach that I
Yeah.
just hired
Yeah.
that also is a mindset coach, a
Yes.
wellness coach, a life coach. The one thing that ties it all together is that mindset piece.
Yes. And having someone that's an expert, like think of the trainer, having someone that's an expert that is great at the physical part, knows what to do to help you, and can be also your mindset coach in that space is going to help you move to your goals faster. I have had trainers come to me super frustrated that their clients don't do what they ask them to do. And those are the ones that don't understand that mindset is a component. The expert advisors in our space, Dan, you and I have met each other on Exit Planning Exchange and other communities where there are a lot of expert advisors. The ones that really succeed are the ones that are creating safety for great conversations with their clients so they really know what they want and they blend that expertise in it, but they also know why their client might be procrastinating and have compassion towards that versus being frustrated by it. Like, I do believe the great expert advisors, the ones that imbue some coaching in it, think of wealth advisors around money mindset, like the ones that are really good at it and really serve their clients actually do incorporate coaching. That's
If you
my
look at
philosophy.
no, and I think it's a good philosophy. I mean, and again, if you look at mindset, I mean, can you really, how can you as a coach really change somebody's mindset? Because sometimes, I mean, it's and I say this because my fitness coach who I just hired told me, is like, just remember something, 80% of it
Yes.
is all here. It's
Yes.
all in here. So how do you make changes to that in somebody?
So what I help is with, I use and especially with clients that very early come to me early in our series, we talk a lot about the thought model. And that's what I
Mhm.
was taught. And it's used in therapy. It's used in other mindset. It is so clear that our circumstances trigger our thoughts. Our thoughts create an emotion in our body. So it can be anger, it can be happiness, it can be those thoughts create an emotional experience. That emotional experience is responsible for how much action we take. So if you are triggered whenever somebody yells at you that, oh my God, I'm doing it wrong, and you feel fear or anger or frustration or holding back, that emotional experience will make you inactive in that moment. And so when I share with clients the literal words that they are thinking, then they can decide when that gets triggered again, their awareness is new. They can be in the process of shifting that thought if they want to. And it's giving that agency of freedom. There's a lot, mantras are telling you what to think. Now, mantras are gorgeous because if there's something that resonates with you and you start believing it and thinking it, you will create a result from that. But where we can get stuck is when coaches get frustrated that you won't change your mind. The good coaches will dig deep and help you to see why you don't want to change your thought, why you're stuck there. It can be from subconscious, the way we're raised, but it also can be a thought or a way that we create safety for ourselves. So we back up, like it's a protective. And when clients are given the opportunity to see it gently, and not be asked to move it, they can decide and have their agency back. Coaching that creates almost equal partners. I feel like a partner in life with a client. I do not feel like I know any better than they do. They are the wisest people about their own life. They are the
Mhm.
genius of their own life and their own business.
Would it be a good statement to say that someone, in order really to embrace coaching, whatever it is, they have to be vulnerable?
Yes, but they need to be met where they want, like where they are. Like, so I don't want to throw off people that I've gone through this huge transition that was deep and difficult, but there's so much joy. Like right now, I'm like, this is a year where I am really celebrating where I've come in a year's time. And I would never give up that experience, but I am not going to ask questions that go deep. I offer that safety that clients bring. They come to me with what they want to work on, and I meet them there. So that's something that I think people really need to understand is that, yes, I can go really deep, but there's something really, I've had clients where their fathers died in the middle of our series, and I stuck with it, and it was very different, the work we were doing, but it was helping support that owner while they honored their grief experience and put things into support to support that emotional journey. And so, but that's not always where we go. I may do all mindset with people. I will meet that client where they are. Good coaching will meet that client, share what they are capable of helping them with. If that client feels really comfortable working with that person, then that's a good match. Then the client gets, yeah, okay, great. I want to do this.
Could you share just a business, maybe a story that where you made an impact on, say, a business owner and how it's really helped them just overall?
Oh gosh, which one do I pick?
I know there's
There are
there's
a lot.
dozens of
10
them.
years of coaching. I want to share an example. It's one I do to show the thought model. I had a room of account executives, so salespeople, and I was offered to do a workshop with them around stress. And I asked them what stressed them out the most. And someone allowed me to coach them through the model. And in that circumstance was that this woman had a 1-hour commute to work. But her thought was that my commute is making me stressed. My commute is ruining my day. So when she thought that thought, I asked her how that felt. And so it's frustrated, angry, agitated. And I said, so how do you act when you're in that space? When you're you're thinking that thought, give me an example. She goes, I would rush into the office. I wouldn't really say hi to anybody. I would go and pick up the phone and call the first client that I needed to talk to. And I was short with people, and I would go into the break room and eat a donut. And I said, so how many times have you literally been late for work this year? And she said, 2. And what was happening is she was thinking that her commute was always making her late, always ruining her day. And she was in that thought the whole time. So when she could see, and she was open to seeing what I was sharing with her, and then she saw those actions. So what she did is created an awareness of when she was in that thought. And I also said, if you weren't actively thinking that thought, how could you capture that hour? She was a mom and she had managed a team. I was like, woman, this is the 1 hour you're by yourself. What do you want to do with that hour? And so for a lot of clients, I'll offer ways to capture the action that you want to do. And you have to think differently to get there. But she was like, oh my gosh, I could call a friend. I could listen to the best podcast. I could listen to my favorite music. And it was like that thought was ruining that experience. It was robbing her and creating this agitation for most of the first half of her day. So how we think really matters, and having someone be able to observe that for you and just be gentle and go, isn't that hilarious? And isn't it hilarious what our brain does? Our brain was wired to protect us, and it's overprotecting us in this modern time. That's all that's happening. It loves to be negative.
No, I get, and it's really it's how you look at something and what your
Mm-hmm.
perspective is, how you look at it. My wife, Michelle, she texts me when she's leaving work, and I know because that's not when I'm supposed to call her because
Yeah.
that's her time. She
Yes.
loves her podcasts.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
if I'm calling, the house better be on fire.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, that's gorgeous. I like that.
So this has been a great conversation, Diana. Can you tell us what's the best way if somebody's out there and wants to learn a little bit more about Diana Murphy coaching? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So I love that you love the website. I did just rewrite it because it now resonates more with me. My website is a place to start to just see if does she jive with, do I love the energy I'm seeing here? Do I feel safe? I have 15-minute calls as my, quick, let's just get to know each other. And then people can decide if they want to do more. Also, I have my podcast. It's a great way to hear my voice and understand how I think about things. And so the Leaders Podcast, subscribe to it, but it's also on my website. So you can get everything you need from my website first and then be in touch. I'm right here, Diana at dianamurphycoaching.com.
Diana, I'm so glad you took some time to come on the show today. Thanks for joining us, and I will probably see you up the road at one of Atlanta's best pizza places.
Yes, I cannot wait to have pizza with you.
Thanks, Diana. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Growth Catalyst Show. Remember, you can take these stories of growth and make them part of your own journey. Learn from them, draw inspiration, and let them guide your path of growth. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney, and I look forward to our next journey together. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, keep growing.